Thank you again, Mayor Mueller, for modeling the values that make this progress possible. Growth with intention, governance, and with integrity, and partnerships that work. Now, it wouldn't be me if I didn't bring up at least one scripture. As Proverbs 24:3 reminds us, by wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. That's what today is all about. Building with wisdom, listening with understanding, and moving forward together. You'll see this spirit reflected not just in today's presentations and panel discussion, but in every handshake and in every exchange. Because the future of real estate here in Seminole County isn't just promising, it's already taking shape.
The Florida Lottery is proud to support education by contributing billions of dollars to Florida schools and awarding countless Bright Future scholarships so Florida students can do more than just dream of a brighter future. They can create one. Learn more at flalottery.com.
Thank you so much for having me back. After last week's jokes, I thought for sure I wasn't getting a second invitation. So for those of you who were there last week, you're probably going to hear some of the same material, so don't ruin the jokes. Does anybody want to hear a free real estate joke? Yes. All right, it's on the house. Poor David. David's like, oh, I got to do that for this guy. Listen, it is absolutely my honor to host this event for you this morning. ORRA has been an incredible force in Central Florida, and what they're able to bring to the table when it comes to the number of realtors, the influence that they can bring to Tallahassee, the impact that they make through their foundation, and bringing events like this to the table where we get to be able to talk about the state of real estate in Seminole County. I know your time is valuable, so we're just going to cut to the chase. The state of real estate in Seminole County is Florida. That's two. All right, let me get my glasses on, and I'm going to have the honor of introducing a personal friend of mine, a man who honestly has been just a terrific force in bringing dignity and expertise to his office, and that is David Johnson. And David, my glasses are stuck in my back pocket, so all right, so David, of course, is the Seminole County property appraiser, and he is a lifelong Seminole County resident. He has served as property appraiser since 2004 and is now in his 6th term. With a business administration degree from Stetson and certification as a Florida appraiser, he began his career in office in 1986. He has since led the State Property Appraisers Association and chairs Habitat for Humanity's Seminole Apopka, which, you know, it's been a privilege to be able to watch David out there fighting the fight for affordable housing, sweating at a lot of these events, doing the ribbon cuttings. I see David a lot of times on Saturdays just to be there, just to show that he cares for his community. So he is known for leveraging technology to enhance service and efficiency. He has earned national recognition for assessment excellence. He was recently honored with the Tony Jennings Award by the Orlando Regional Realtor Association. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce David Johnson. I'm not sure which way we're supposed to come up.
This way.
Well, that way?
This way.
Sorry, we look close.
I could trip over something, so that would be really amusing. It'd be better than your jokes, Jane. Anyway, well, thank you all very much. And as Cliff started, or Mayor Mueller started about, you guys are very special to me as an organization. You've been always there and supportive of me in my professional career, my political career. I often say when I'm at your individual offices doing presentations that your clients are my constituents. So anything that we can do to help educate the public, because real estate is not a simple or easy thing, especially when it comes to property taxes and assessments and all that fun stuff. We appreciate it. And again, I love events like this. We have an educational opportunity. So my goal here today is kind of to set the table for the rest of the program and kind of give you a global overview about what's happening with real estate here in Seminole County. You know, our office receives about 8,000 to 9,000 individual transactions a year from willing buyers, willing sellers. Hopefully all of you are getting commission off of that. And So we see the whole big picture. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that this morning. Whoops. How do I get off the game? Down. Okay, perfect. So here we are in Seminole County, and we have some unique challenges here in Seminole County. Cliff alluded to that we are the fourth smallest geographic county in the state of Florida. We're only like 380 something square miles. You compare us to Orange County, which is 1,100 square miles. My friends in Osceola County, they're 1,500 square miles. You can fit 4 or 5 of us into those counties geographically. However, we have 500,000 people that live here. And the other challenge is not only are we small to start off with, we have 2 significant segments of the county that are cordoned off from any kind of intense development, both the east side and the west side. So we are all kind of jammed in the middle of the county, and there's opportunities there for redevelopment and moving forward, and certainly that is a goal of our cities and county commission to try to move that development to more urban areas where the infrastructure already is, and folks can redevelop some of that. That also has an impact on price points, obviously. This, again, will give you some idea about what the tax roll in Seminole County looks like. We're about 68% residential in nature, almost 400 million square feet. If you take all the residential buildings and add them all up, this is what I do. This is how crazy my life is. It's 400 million square feet. Take this to the next trivia party, and you will maybe win something. We have about 174 million square feet of commercial space, which is about 32% of the tax roll. And another interesting statistic for my realtor friends, about 71% of all Seminole County homes are homesteaded. That is one of the highest percentages in the state of Florida. You see a lot of the rest of the counties around the state, they're in the 60, high 50s, low 60 range, but 71% is certainly in the top tier of how many folks actually live here, invest in this community, send their kids to school here, and love working and living here. Talked about how small we are geographically, how we're and Commissioner Constantine and I always cringe at the concept that we're built out. Well, there's no such thing. There's always opportunities for redevelopment. And I can take you real close to here and show you lots of opportunities for redevelopment. But even with that being said, we are still building new homes in this county. And you can see what's happened over the last number of years. We went back to 2010, and you can see we're in about the 1,000 to 1,400, 1,500 range. Most of these, even last year, we added almost 1,000 new houses to the tax roll for the very first time. Most of those are on the eastern side of Sanford, out by the airport. Okay, everything else that we have kind of going on is that redevelopment opportunities. I know the city of Lake Mary celebrates when they get a 20-lot subdivision coming in, because that's just their pocket subdivisions, and again, you're trying to move homes onto properties that are, at one point thought were undevelopable, but certainly the economics have now worked out that they are developable. So here's where we are with median sales prices over the last number of years. We went back to 2019, because that's before the world blew up, okay, went crazy. That's kind of our last normal year. And the median sales price for a home in this county was about $289,000, okay? So, and we had about 8,200 sales back in 2019. You can see what started happening during COVID, and once we got to 2021, we went from 289 to 350. In 2022, we went to 400,000, 420, 435, and for the first 7 months of this year, we're at, again, 435. So basically, it's the same number. We've definitely leveled off. You can see what's happened to the number of sales. The number of sales have trended off, and that is, I don't need to tell anybody in this room why that is. It's not because they don't like living in Seminole County, or they don't like the school system anymore. It's because of interest rates and the cost of affordability, and we're going to talk about affordability here a little bit more moving forward. But all things you hear your clients tell you this all the time, I'm going to just wait for the market to correct itself, okay? And then I will pull the trigger and buy a house. Well, those same people were saying the same thing in 2019, okay? And so theoretically, that same house that you could have got for $289 in 2019 is now $435. Congratulations, I hope you worked the stock market better than you did waiting on the real estate market, correct. We are certainly seeing a slowdown. You can see the trend line has flattened out. And again, I don't need to tell anyone in this room that's happening. From January 1 to July 2024, we had about 4,000 residential sales. From January 1 to July 2025, about 3,900 sales, so we're down about 4% in the number of transactions. Again, the price points have not declined, just the number of transactions have declined. This will, again, give you some idea about how the rates are kind of stabilizing. This is the price point for detached existing single-family homes. This does not include any kind of new construction. And you can see we hit a high in 2022. This is when you had multiple contracts. People were, you had 4 or 5 backup contracts. People were bidding on one another. And that's where we had about 13.5% increase. It started trending back down as we saw interest rates go up. And again, for the first 7 months of this year, we're at 1.69%, which of course is below inflation, obviously. So we're basically flatlining as far as price appreciation, but no declines. Oops, sorry. This is the price point for new single-family homes. So this is new construction, stuff that's never been on the tax roll. Again, you can see in 2022, we were about $462, got up to $470 in 2023, trended down just a tad in 2024. And again, for the first 7 months of this year, again, this is new construction only, about $480,000. No huge differential between both existing and new homes. They're fairly close. I'm just touching on this real quick. Again, we'll have another, I'm sure, opportunity to discuss this either later on today or in another presentation. You hear a lot of talk out there on the state level about property taxes and, let's eliminate property taxes on home. At one point, we're going to eliminate property taxes. Now it's kind of morphed to, well, maybe just on homestead properties, okay? This just gives you some perspective about how much property taxes are actually collected in Seminole County on an annual basis. And the thing that would need to happen is this would need to be backfilled, okay, at some level, if we, in fact, quote unquote, eliminated property taxes. This is probably my most favorite quote I've seen in a long time. And this comes from the president of the Senate, Senator Albritton. And he said this a couple weeks ago. When it comes to property taxes, everybody breathe. Nobody's going to do anything crazy. Okay? Now, Senator Constantine was in the legislature for a number of years. He has seen crazy, but there are folks who I think will come up with some reasonable alternatives. There are some things that property taxes, there's some tweaking that can certainly be done, especially for probably new homeowners, elderly homeowners. I will tell you, homesteaded property owners are relatively well protected no matter what the narrative is out there. But there's tweaking, and I'm sure we will see some tweaking. But just keep this in mind, and we will follow this over the next number of months. So thank you all very much for the opportunity to be with you, and I'll look forward to the panel discussion here in a few minutes.
We wanted to move back home to be closer to his family. We decided to go with pods because things were stressful enough.
We weren't sure how long we were going to need storage for, so we needed something that was flexible, and then they can deliver the container to wherever we move to.
We haven't found the perfect house yet, but we're still looking.
You sure? Okay. What does a house wear? A dress. All right. Who's next? Is it Raquel? Hold on. I'm not sure I got the right order here for the flow. All right. right, so Justine, are you ready? Where is she? Okay, my order of events is a little out of place here, so excuse me. All right, Justine. So Justine Small is an honorary consul of the UK in Central Florida. She is a true force when it comes to bringing those partnerships and relationships together. She's going to talk a little bit about real estate today, but the truth is, in learning about some of who she is and what she does, our friends across the pond are influential in many other ways, and that is bringing business into our neighborhoods and into our communities. So Justine is a respected business leader and a longtime advocate for UK Central Florida trade relations. Appointed by His Majesty's Honorary Consul in 2024, I always still want to say her, but you know. She focuses on expanding commercial outreach and strengthening regional ties. Honored with an MBA in 2015, Justine also brings more than 30 years of international real estate experience. She consults for developers all across Central Florida and offers global perspectives on sustainable housing development and international investment in local communities. So with the opinions from across the pond, Justine is all.
Good morning, Seminole County and Lake Mary. So I know I gave a different headshot because clearly the color of my hair is different, but it does change, so I was thinking about going back red, so it's a good trial. Thank you for having me here today. It's an absolute honor. I did the event the other day in Orange County, and I mentioned at that point that it's an honor always to come and do something with the Orlando Regional Realtors Association, because my career has been very largely influenced by real estate, various different sectors, but it's what I know, it's what I love, and so I'm thrilled to be here. So I'm originally from London. Probably wouldn't know that by my accent at this point. So as you can see, I've lived the majority of my life here actually in Central Florida. I have always been very passionate about helping and growing bilateral trade between Central Florida and the UK. And I'm very fortunate in this role that I'm able to meet and help many UK companies who are moving to the region. So we're going to talk about what types of companies are moving here in just a moment. But let's talk about kind of the relationship between Brits that are coming here and our community. So about 25 years ago, Brits were one of the top foreign buyers of real estate in Central Florida, but they were coming here largely to purchase holiday or vacation homes, usually with a south-facing pool so that they get lots of sun. And they obviously enjoyed it for their holiday and then rented it out for the rest of the year. The exchange rate at that point was about 2 to 1. Cost of living in real estate was comparatively low, and the popularity of Brits owning holiday homes near Disney really helped fuel the local short-term rental industry at that time. So while that hasn't changed completely, I completely forgot my slides. Okay, good, we haven't got to that point, so I'm ready. So while that hasn't changed completely, as British buyers are always going to come here, as long as we have over 300 days of sunshine and remain the theme park capital of the world, the prospect of vacation home ownership is now only part of the reason why we see Brits that are buying real estate in our community. And so that's really where I'd like to focus the discussion on today. Keep in mind that some of the information I speak about is going to be true of any foreign nationals that are purchasing property in Central Florida. And so in some of this I have a couple of stats that are more specific. It says Orlando, but I think when we're looking at Central Florida, we're looking at kind of the MSA. So a couple of interesting stats. Number one, Orlando and the Orlando MSA is number 1 in the nation for job growth among the top 30 metros, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. 1 in 5 residents are now born overseas, myself included. So I think that makes us an extraordinarily rich and culturally diverse community. And we are the fastest growing foreign-born population in the U.S. So that has a lot to do with the rest of what we're looking at here. So, I don't think I need to tell anybody that Brits love coming here on holiday. Always have, always will. About 1.3 million visitors come to Florida annually, and about 1 million of them come to Central Florida. That gives us an economic impact to our community of about $127 billion. Sorry, that's over the state. Florida, $1.7 trillion economy, is the fourth largest in the US, which powers 5% of the nation's GDP. My apologies. Let's stick on this first and then I'll jump ahead. Sorry about that. Okay, so as over 1 million Brits come to Central Florida every year, many of them decide that they're going to stay here. So they may come, they usually will start businesses, they may bring large businesses, small businesses, and it's in all different industries. But we now have approximately 400,000 Brits that have made Florida their permanent home. And it's estimated the majority of them are within kind of the Four Corners area, so Orange County, Central Florida, Polk County, Lake County. The best estimate is about 250,000 Brits living in that area, within Central Florida. So why is it important? So Florida's $1.7 trillion economy is the fourth largest in the US, powering 5% of the nation's GDP. The UK is Florida's #1 foreign investor, with 380 companies creating 70,000 jobs. Now I can tell you, I did 2 grand openings for 2 British companies just this week, so we're now 382, and obviously more than 70,000, so it's a moving figure. The UK is Florida's #2 European trading partner, with $7 billion in annual bilateral trade. The 9th largest export market, with $3.2 billion in UK imports from Florida in 2023. And Florida's 12th largest import source, with $3.2 billion in UK exports to Florida in 2023. Within Central Florida, according to the Central Florida International Trade Office, the UK has been the greatest source of foreign direct investment in our region, contributing to the most projects and the highest capital expenditure, with FDI totaling over $3.2 billion over the past decade. So what do we do to encourage that? So this is where the governments came together. So November of 2023, a memorandum of understanding was signed by Governor DeSantis in the UK, designed to increase trade and bilateral investment, strengthen business ties, grow academic partnerships between Florida and the UK. So what does that mean for us? It was designed to help make it easier, quicker, and cheaper for UK and Florida companies, because remember, we're not just speaking about British companies coming here. There are a lot of Florida companies who are looking to expand into the UK as well. So we're trying to make it easier and cheaper for these companies to do business. And the Memorandum of Understanding targets sectors in which both the state and the UK have particular strengths, including space and aerospace, AI and tech, covering all different types of tech, life sciences, financial and creative industries, supply chains, logistics, transportation, infrastructure, cybersecurity. The list is quite lengthy. But if you'll note, when you see all of the areas that Florida is really growing in, and certainly in Central Florida, where we're part of the high-tech corridor and we see a lot of growth in that area, you'll see a lot of British businesses that are coming here to collaborate. So the MOU includes 5 overall objectives. Increase trade between Florida and the UK, obviously #1 objective. Increase bilateral investment. Create a forum to address possible trade barriers. Very happy to say that we have a trade deal, so that's a good thing. And foster innovation and strengthen business links. Finally, grow academic and research ties, because much of what's happening tomorrow is being studied today, and it's the growth of many of our industries that we're working on at the moment. So now let's talk real estate, because everything comes back to real estate. So according to Florida Realtors' 2024 profile of international residential transactions in Florida, the UK represents 5% of Florida's real estate buyers and is in 5th position behind Canada, Argentina, Colombia, and Brazil. It's also in 4th position by dollar volume, representing $317 million in 2024, behind Canada, Brazil, and Argentina. Interestingly, even with exchange rates supporting a very strong US dollar and not necessarily a favorable exchange rate for British buyers, they're still above Colombian buyers, which I thought was very interesting, as Colombian buyers have become such an increasingly important buyer in our community here. So Brits are buying, just maybe not in the numbers that they were before, but you'll see they generally purchase above average prices, which is why they're in the fourth position there as far as money. So as you can see here, the UK has consistently remained at about 5% of Florida's international buyers over the past few years. Now, 75% of British buyers, if you look just on this side here, 75% of British buyers are non-residents and intend to use the property as an investment or for a vacation or both. This is compared to 69% of Florida's overall international buyers, which means less Brits are buying as a primary home. They're generally purchasing either as a vacation home and or an investment property. But that also means 25% of the buyers that are coming here from the UK do intend to live here. And I think that's where we need to watch that growth, because that relates back to the trade and the Memorandum of Understanding. So where are Brits buying? I don't think I need to tell anybody here. By and large, they're buying in our community. 22% of them purchasing in Orlando, Kissimmee, Sanford. And while British buyers represent 5% of the purchases overall in the state, you can see that they represent 10% of the foreign buyers that are purchasing in Central Florida. So it's massive to our community. They also purchase with an average price of over $430,000, which is higher than the 2024 Florida existing home sales average of $395,000. 70% of them purchase in cash, and 74% of them purchase single-family homes. Again, if you want to sell to Brits, find one with a south-facing pool, and you'll be in much better stead. So what's the takeaway? Takeaway from this is that the UK and Central Florida have had an incredibly warm and special relationship for many years. But this has probably been seen more so in tourism up until the last few years. As our trade and our different industry collaboration increasingly becomes stronger, this represents billions of dollars of investment coming into our community, and it's happening in all kinds of industries. So as long as this trade collaboration continues to grow, it stands to reason that British buyers will continue to factor in the top international buyers of Central Florida real estate. So thank you for having me today. Hopefully that helps kind of put a spotlight on why British buyers are so important, why international buyers are so important, because it's kind of woven into the fabric of our community here, and it's a community that I'm thrilled to be part of. So you have my contact information. If anybody would like to reach out to me, please feel free. Thank you very much.
We wanted to move back home to be closer to his family. We decided to go with pods because things were stressful enough.
We weren't sure how long we were going to need storage for, so we needed something that was flexible, and then they can deliver the container to wherever we move to.
We haven't found the perfect house yet, but we're still looking.
My jokes come with a manual if you need it. It's at the back. Our next guest is Raquel Asa, who is the Senior Director of External Affairs with Central Florida Expressway Authority. I've had the honor of introducing Raquel for more than a decade, but Raquel leads customer experience and community engagement across a 125-mile expressway system that many of you probably used to get here this morning, exploring how transportation infrastructure shapes housing affordability and access across Central Florida. With more than 20 years in journalism and mobility innovation, she brings a unique perspective to transportation equity and workforce housing accessibility. Her past roles include executive leadership and autonomous mobility and award-winning reporting, all driven by passion for connecting communities through infrastructure. She also had the tedious task of having to work with me for about a decade at Channel 9, so give her a hoot for that. Ladies and gentlemen, Raquel Asa.
I think one of the most exciting and fun things for me is being able to come here to Lake Mary to talk about different topics. I think the last time I was here was actually with an autonomous vehicle company called Beep. I know my friends at Altamont Springs have that project there. I do have the pleasure today to talk on the work that we're doing at the Central Florida Expressway Authority. I feel like you always have to do that obligatory. It is an honor to speak before, but quite frankly, it is a blessing for us to be here today. We had the honor of being able to be part of the Orlando State of Real Estate and today here in Seminole County, and I think what is the most exciting thing for us here at CFX is the amount of projects that we have going on throughout our entire 5-county region. So I'm going to make 3 promises to you today. The first is I hope you walk away with what we're about to share with you today with oh, I didn't know that, and now I'm going to be a resource for those who I am selling here in Seminole County and across Central Florida. The second is I hope you know where to find us now should you have any questions about projects, because we want to serve as that resource, and that starts with providing a level of awareness of where we are at certain stages within our project. So again, I do want to thank the association as being part of this conversation regarding real estate and quite frankly how transportation plays a key effort in moving and connecting our communities. I also want to just take a quick moment to acknowledge Commissioner Constantine, who I think is going to be speaking a little bit later on. Many of you might not know this, but Commissioner Constantine was on our board, obviously stayed in the legislature for quite some time as well, but was very instrumental and a key player in helping move Wekiva Parkway to what it is today. And many people don't realize that we're actually going under a resurfacing of that project right now. And it feels just like yesterday that we were cutting the ribbon and doing a 5K to acknowledge that what we would call Northwestern Beltway, really connecting Seminole County to right around the Apopka area where a lot of change has happened. And I hope I get to give you that level of visualization of what it is. One of the things about roads is that they don't stop at county lines. Many of us cross county lines to get here today. I came from Orange County to come into Seminole County, taking much of the system that we build, maintain, and operate today. But when it comes to infrastructure, the key thing, I think you've heard about it today, it's often a silent partner in the level of conversations you are having with those looking to move, whether they're familiar with Central Florida or they're coming brand new to the state for the very first time. Their first questions are, how do I get to work? How do I get my kids to school? And we are very much part of that equation when you think about the expressways that help move and connect our 5-county region. So at CFX, we're building the roads that make homes, jobs, and communities accessible. You heard from David Johnson earlier that a lot of the growth is happening just east of the airport. My goal is to help share with you the level of study that we have going on, because we as well are aware of what's planned and permitted specifically right in that Seminole County area by the airport and even right on the cusp there of Volusia County. So let's talk about growth. It's not just at our doorstep. We talk a lot about that, but it is happening now. As we've talked about it, it's reflected very much on our roads today. Some of you probably stuck in that traffic trying to get here and accounting just a little bit earlier to leave because you know just when that school bus is going to stop and put the stop sign out. It's also reflected in our schools. It's also reflected in the businesses of our region. These are things that areas that aren't experiencing growth wish that they had. I think one of the opportunities as realtors and those in the community have is the ability to tell people what we are doing to help be part of that solution. So we all know growth is here, but I wanted to give you a look at what does that growth actually look like. First, this is one of our expressways taken at peak hour. Some of you probably stuck in that peak traffic, but wanted to give you a glimpse on how we're enhancing that connectivity and access to connect our region. So this is what growth looks like. Pay very close attention to the changes in the tans and the beiges and the browns. This is a time lapse and several snapshots taken starting from 1980s to about 2020s. For those of you who've been in the area long enough, you know the airport opened, Terminal A and B, around the 1980s. You can see a lot of that growth happening. It is looping over time, so you'll want to look at the top right. All of that is how our community and our region is transforming. We talk a lot about numbers, but when you see what that actually looks like in the 5-county area that CFX is responsible for building infrastructure, it really puts a picture to the numbers. You can see areas like Lake Nona, Horizons West, even in the Lake Mary area, Apopka and Sanford are really experiencing that growth that you heard from others before I got up here. And as I mentioned, these communities are transforming, where people are raising their families and businesses are planting their roots. Why? Because this is a great place to live. And so that is part of our challenge as an agency. But the thing about infrastructure, when I talk about challenge, is always an opportunity. You do your best to plan, account for that permitted and that planned growth, but no matter how well you plan in advance, the key thing is that people are moving here faster than we can build. Our mission at CFX is to connect communities in our 5-county area through our $4.25 billion work plan. And that work plan, many don't realize this, is funded by you. Jamie mentioned this earlier. Some of you probably took the 417 or 408, 429 coming here, or even Wekiva Parkway. Every time you pay a toll, you are putting money back into the system. That's what we call this, a 100% user-funded network. So what that essentially means is that we do not receive state or federal money to build the network that we have, and that's our toll network. All that money is used to build and operate our 125-mile network that spans 5 counties. You've heard me say that a lot. But our 5 areas of jurisdiction are right here to, I think this would be my left, which would be Orange, Seminole, Osceola, Lake, and Brevard. And so that's what our regional agency is supporting, the growth in those 5 counties when it comes to supporting, and that we know and we anticipate it to come because counties have approved a level of development in these areas, and we need to account for that in our work plan. So this connectivity is critical to the tens of millions of residents and visitors in our community. Creating and achieving that regional vision of transportation is guided very much by our board. Many people also don't realize that we have our board. Representatives from 5 counties we serve, the mayors of Orange County and City of Orlando, as well as 3 governor appointees, all ensure that every mile we build reflects community needs and regional priorities. You'll notice that Commissioner Herr sits on our board. She is currently the treasurer, and she is the representative of Seminole County. Prior to becoming the representative for Seminole County, she was a governor appointee as well. So you can see we do have a tenure of leadership when it comes to our board and really understanding how does the regional vision play into individual county growth. Their leadership is your assurance, and quite frankly, it is our governance that we are continuously improving the 125-mile system. So I want you to rewind your brain just a minute and remember that time lapse that I showed you at the very beginning that showed all the tans and the browns that are popping up? Well, you'll notice it very much aligns where we're doing a lot of our projects today. When I talk about projects, it's stuff that is either in the very early stages in what we would call a plan, development, and environmental study. So we're literally studying what would it take to build the roadway, and then we move eventually into design and construction, ensuring that every step along the way we're engaging our board. So you can see that this $4.2 billion work plan really encompasses our 5-county area, and I'm just gonna, for those of you who can see the colors all the way in the back, green is anything under design, construction, and right-of-way right now. Pink is something under design. You'll notice there at 534 and up at 414, right around the Maitland area. Anything in orange is under construction. And then also anything in green over here, which is the Lake Expressway, is also under construction. What's incredible to see as well is that you'll notice big swaths of blue, and you're probably wondering, well, how big is that expressway going to be? And there's a big swath over there on the top, right under the headline of Central Florida. Those are our study areas. We're identifying at the very early stages what would it take to build a roadway, and we really look at all the considerations and, quite frankly, also impacts when you look at a broader area for where we're studying a brand new expressway. One of those is what David Johnson was mentioning, where a lot of that growth is happening. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. As realtors, you understand the importance of local insight. Often you are the first person somebody asks, where's the closest grocery store? How great are the schools? What do the roads look like? You really know the pulse of the community, as well as understanding and anticipating those needs. So at CFX, we take a very similar approach through our community guidance and stewardship efforts, which go far beyond what you would consider those traditional public meetings. We engage through specific project advisory groups that provide very targeted input in each of those study areas. These groups include large-scale communities, emergency services, environmental agencies, and yes, as well as real estate and development voices. We also have our Environmental Stewardship Committee, which is this one, although over there it says ESC. Our ESC is appointed by our board, which ensures that every project does reflect responsible land use and environmental protection. Before anything goes to our board, we heavily engage with the community and also our committee before we go to the board on should we proceed after we go through our PD&E. So when you look at our projects, I did give you a promise of where are our projects, and let's go a little bit more in granularity. If you look at, there's the 408, right there where it says Orlando, and then kind of everything north. Sanford Airport Connector, that is currently in a PD&E right now. We are studying what would it take to create almost like a spur coming off the 417, heading northbound to Lake Mary Boulevard, and then eventually ending over at the airport. One thing I want to make note is that right at where the connector would potentially reach Lake Mary Boulevard, that will be a full interchange. So coming off the 417 and then getting to Lake Mary Boulevard, there will be a full interchange for you to access instead of having to go farther north on the 417 and wait for the Lake Mary Boulevard interchange. It's still in that study phase right now, and before the end of the year anticipated to go to our board on what next. And there are the 3 stages of what next. There could be a no build. We do nothing. We have studied it. The second one is let's move into design and construction. So there are a number of options that are still on the table for us to evaluate in the next step or next action, you would say, is at our board before the end of the year. The one there in pink is under design right now, which is a 414 expressway extension. For those of you, anybody work near the Maitland Boulevard area coming off of I-4 and you wish, gosh, if they could just take off this light, I would be able to go faster. I'm seeing a nod at this table. We are designing an elevated expressway that would provide continuous movement between I-4 all the way to the 429. For those of you familiar with the area and we're going through the construction of I-4 Ultimate, you already know that they created that level of elevated expressway and then they had ramps that go down to local. Our goal is to continue that continuous flow of movement over to the 429, and we are in the design of that right now. Speaking of the 429, as I kind of had clockwise here, or counterclockwise, I should say. 429 is in orange. That is around the area if you're coming from Apaka, going down and accessing the turnpike. I can promise you we are nearing construction completion on that right now. You'll start to see some final layers of pavement going in. And one of the unique features of that is that we knew we were challenged with the growth in that area, but also ensuring that we could account for future growth as well based off of what's planned and permitted. You've probably noticed a lot of the overhead signs and thought, what are those arrows pointing down and those X's that go over the shoulder? Have any of you seen those? Curious. Okay, if you haven't, you're about to. It will explain what exactly those are. So that section, we've also implemented a very similar program on this section of the 417. It's called our Flex Lanes program. And our Flex Lanes program was on 2 highways, 2 expressways on the 429 and sections of the 417, quite frankly, to handle the growth that was already happening there. So we needed to account for what was already there and then what was to come, and then also safely move people in the event of an incident. There's nothing worse than being stuck in stop-and-go traffic or being stuck in traffic that doesn't move. So by having signs located every half a mile, you will know leading up to the incident if that flex lane, which is a wider shoulder, is open for your use. And so we have found that in our partnership as well with UCF that we're studying, a lot of drivers, believe it or not, know what to do. And that is a great thing to say, especially when you look at the reason why we implemented it in terms of handling the growth that's already there, but also reducing the risk of a secondary crash. Secondary crashes typically happen when you're having something that you can access, like your phone, because you're stuck trying to figure out, gosh, how much longer is this line of traffic? Our goal is to prevent the need and eliminate the need for you to pick up your phone to know how much longer it is till you get down the road. This, quite frankly, could not be possible without our partnership with Florida Department of Transportation and the Traffic Management Center, which is located in Sanford. They have eyes on the road all the time, and it's through our partnership with them that we can help keep people moving and then also reduce that risk. And speaking of crashes, I want you to remember this number, STAR FHP. Thank you. STAR FHP not only gets you to the transportation center, but it also will get you access to a pilot program we have launched with Florida Highway Patrol. And it's in relation to resolving minor crashes faster with a virtual connection to a Florida highway trooper. And so what that means is if you're involved in a crash where it's minor, it could be solved by a short form, there's no roadblock, everybody's okay, your car is movable. We've actually found that crashes can be resolved through that virtual connection, through audio, pinpoint location, and also through video, through someone's cell phone. We can resolve crashes in as little as 21 minutes rather than hours. FHP has found this partnership as well to be helpful because it allows them as well to take their resources that they have and put them toward other issues as well that may be happening around the region. So STAR FHP, please share that. As realtors, you also want to make sure that at the last event that we were at, somebody said, gosh, I wish I knew that, so I'm going to share that with you. Our ePass transponder, which works throughout the state of Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina, the white sticker, the black sticker, it is free. So what that means is if you know somebody who's moving here to Central Florida, they're trying to weigh which one to get, ours is free, and if you travel within our 5-county area, we also have a volume toll discount program. So it's up to, I believe, 25%. So our team is out in the hallway if you have any questions about that. If you have any questions about projects, Brian Hutchings, I think you're back out there. He is happy to answer any questions as well regarding projects. As it relates to snowbirds, if anybody has prospects that are coming here and they spend half of the time, whether it's here in Florida and then anywhere along the eastern seaboard up to New York, we have a uni which works all the way from Florida, all the way to New York, all through the same ePass app. So if you have people who are here part-time, that's also an option for them. Basically anywhere that EZ-Pass is accepted, the uni will be accepted as well. And if you have prospects who are also coming from out of town and they're flying into Orlando International Airport, we have a free program called Visitor Toll Pass. And what this allows somebody to do is essentially borrow an e-pass while they're in town, so they don't have to worry about rental car fees if they're using the transponder on the windshield. This is available at Terminal A, B, and C. It also has an app. You connect it to your credit card like you would in ePass, and you'll be able to find those kiosks. It's literally a hang tag that you put on your windshield, and then you just return it back whenever you're done. You do have to pay those tolls, but at least you're not paying any processing fees. I do want to leave you with this last thought because quite frankly, I mentioned this earlier, but I'll mention it again. We cannot do what we do without you. You are very much a resource for us, both very much on the front line as well in meeting new people moving to our community. And Henry Ford, I was trying to find a great quote for this event. He said it best, and I like the last part. Working together is success. And we have found that more people who know about what we're doing, the more successful we are as a region. So that is my invitation to you, that let's build this region together, especially more people continue to call this great state home. Thank you.
We wanted to move back home to be closer to his family. We decided to go with pods because things were stressful enough.
We weren't sure how long we were going to need storage for, so we needed something that was flexible, and then they can deliver the container to wherever we move to.
We haven't found the perfect house yet, but we're still looking.
And our next guest is really going to emphasize that point. Sean Gard-Harold is the Assistant Superintendent, E-Pathways for Seminole County Public Schools. Sean's a longtime educator with a passion for leading student-centered innovation, with experience as a paraprofessional, a teacher, an instructional coach, school administrator, district administrator, and parent. Sean brings a diverse skill set to his work as the Assistant Superintendent for Education Pathways, or E-Pathways. So he holds a BS in elementary education in reading, an MA in curriculum and instruction. He is a skilled leader. Sean is passionate about opening doors for students so each can confidently answer the question, what's your E? Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Gard-Harold.
I've lived my entire life on a bell schedule, and so I'm going to watch this clock very, very closely. So thank you all so much for having me today. I am here on behalf of Superintendent Beeman, who has, as you would expect, multiple competing priorities. And so asked me to come here today and share with all of you a little bit about what's happening in Seminole County Public Schools. We know that when families are coming to Seminole County, one of the reasons that they come here is for our schools. And we are very proud of that, and we hold that responsibility very closely. So the first, there's Jamie again. Hello. All right. So I do want to first acknowledge our school board members. 4 of them who are here with us here today. Every one of them had children who came through Seminole County Public Schools. They have a vested interest. There are school boards around the states that have different relationships with their staff. Our school board can be found in our building. They are not a rubber stamp. They are here asking questions. They are here making sure that we hold our standards high at every juncture throughout the way. And so I just want to say thank you to them, because we actually do get along and all sorts of good things. It's wonderful. So just a little bit about the school district. So we are the 13th largest school district in the state of Florida and 57th largest nationally. I worked in a school district in Indiana where I also drove a bus and had to get the horses off of the parking lot when we had horses that had gotten out. So being in the 57th largest district in the state to me or in the country is mind-boggling. We have about 59,000 students and 7,000 employees. And as you can see, we have the 37 elementary schools, 12 middle schools, 9 high schools, and our 6 special centers. We are also 50% free and reduced lunch. So that means that 50% of our families are falling below that national poverty line and needing additional assistance, which for home buyers also matters because they are looking for affordable housing to come to Seminole County because they want high quality education for their students. 17% of our students are students with disabilities, 9% of our students are in gifted programs, and then 8% of our students are English language learners. I think one of the things that's interesting that is a change in Seminole County over the last several years is if you add up those numbers in that blue table, we are a majority minority school district. And so I think that that is one of those shifts that we've seen over time that if you haven't been paying attention to that, it may not have necessarily registered. We also have a very high population of students who are identified as homeless. And so homeless may mean that you're doubled up with another family and living in non-permanent circumstances. But if you also look, I think it's staggering to see how many of our students are living in motels, how many are living in emergency shelters, and this is last year's numbers at the end of the year. How many are living in cars, parks, and outside? And how many are unaccompanied, meaning they have no adult resource to help them access school. And so we are working on serving all of those students, as well as the 30,000 students that qualify for the free and reduced lunch. We want to make sure that those barriers do not become the barriers that last a lifetime. So with all of that comes a heavy responsibility. We've got, lots of students who are living in less than ideal circumstances. We have a high percentage of students who are English language learners, but we are thriving, and we are so proud of some of the things that are happening in Seminole County Public Schools. So first of all, we are an A-rated school district. And the superintendent had yes, absolutely. The superintendent has a whole cadence that she goes through with these, and I'm not even going to try. But we are A-rated, and we have been for all but 1 year of the entire school grading system. And so we are committed to staying an academically high-performing district. We are one of only a few districts in the state of Florida that is listed as an academically high-performing district. And then also, according to Dr. Paul Cottle from FSU, every year he does a ranking of the #1 districts in STEM education, and repeatedly, Seminole County Public Schools is #1 in STEM education in the state of Florida. But wait, there's more. We are also #1 on niche. And so this is our version of Zillow. This is our kind of our Yelp or whatever, how we see how our constituents feel about our school district, and it's pretty darn good. We are #1 in the state of Florida. So when you're selling homes, that makes things a little bit easier. But we also don't want our students to graduate just to graduate. We want them to graduate with a diploma that is meaningful to them. And so we ask all of our students, what's your E? When you graduate, and we start this at kindergarten, when you graduate, do you want to seek enrollment, enlistment, or employment? Because every one of those has a place in our community. And so I wanted to show you a quick 1-minute video about what's your E. We'll see if it plays. Perhaps not. I'll just tell you about it. So you can see there with our What's Your E campaign, and let me just go back here. With our What's Your E campaign, we are committed to students graduating with credentials of value. So we have 53 career and professional education academies. When you drive around Seminole County, you don't see like an Orange Technical College. But that doesn't mean we don't have those programs. We have 53 of them. Everything, and it's fascinating when I was listening earlier, we have everything: aviation, cybersecurity, automotive, culinary, early childhood education, computer science. And we are, last year we had over 6,000 industry certifications earned by our high school students. That's unbelievable. Those are students who are graduating with a credential that they can use right away. One of those credentials, as I mentioned to a group yesterday, many of our students are graduating with an unmanned flight certification. So if you need drone footage of properties, let me introduce you to a kid. All right. Our newest programs, though, are at Oviedo High School, where we have our Roots to Research program. And I saw in Justine's presentation earlier, we introduced this year agricultural biotechnology. And we have students over in Oviedo that are now studying agriculture. I was in the classroom earlier this week, and first of all, the most fascinating thing to me is that 2/3 of the students are female. And they are committed to really understanding not the 12% of agriculture that actually works on farms and ranches, but a larger swath of logistics and marketing and all of those things. We also started this year the SERVE Academy. We added on to the SERVE Academy, which stands for Skills in Emergency Response, Valor, and Education. And we added the Bear Brigade at Winter Springs High School. And that Bear Brigade will help us to prepare in conjunction with Seminole County government and with Seminole State College, future firefighters, so that we have a safe and ready community. Some of our challenges, and none of these will be a surprise to any of you. Funding is always a challenge for public education. We believe in our heart of hearts, we have been a choice district for a very long time, and there are wonderful choices, both public, private, and charter in Seminole County. But if families don't know about all of the options when they're making a choice, it's not a fully informed choice. And so that's where we need all of you to help us help our new residents make a purposeful choice about where their child is going to school. And you will see with our board members a little bit later, they have some collateral that if you are interested in learning more about how we support our students in our programs and how we best use funding to make sure that our students are prepared, we'll be able to provide that to you. And then finally, we just ask for community support. We are in the process right now of reimagining our district strategic plan. With that strategic plan, we are trying to make sure that what we put in that plan reflects the values of our community and our belief in the ability to grow while we sustain excellence. And so if you have any feedback that you would like to give, we certainly can get you this QR code a little bit later, because I know it's going to fly by now, but we can get that to you at another time. It takes all of us. Yesterday was the first time I had the opportunity to stand in front of a group of realtors. Usually it's just me and Judy Bissell, and stand in front of a group of realtors and share a little bit about what we do. And the reception of you all meant the world to me. And we want to continue to build that relationship, to grow that relationship. We are eager to provide concierge level service to your families and your businesses that want to move to Seminole County Public Schools. Please give us the opportunity to do so. Thank you.
The Florida Lottery is proud to support education by contributing billions of dollars to Florida schools and awarding countless Bright Future scholarships so Florida students can do more than just dream of a brighter future. They can create one. Learn more at flalottery.com.
And that's what helps drive the neighborhood. All right, we're going to move on now to Mr. Lee Constantine. Seminole County Commissioner. Lee, of course, has served Florida for more than 4 decades, beginning as the youngest elected official in Altamont Springs history. He spent 8 years in the Florida House, 10 in the Senate, and has served as Seminole County Commissioner since 2012. He's a UCF grad. Lee is known for his leadership in education, environmental protection, and economic development, with landmark legislation, including the Wekiva Parkway Act, Florida Forever, and Sunrail. He chairs the Wekiva River Basin Commission and founded Charity Challenge, which has raised more than $7 million for Florida nonprofits. Ladies and gentlemen, Lee Constantine.
The great thing about being last is everybody's already said everything. And you really don't have any time because everybody's already taken, they've got this 8-minute thing. They're not even turning it on for me. Thank you. They turned it on up there. Okay. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here. So what I'm going to do is kind of capsulize everything that you've heard, and I hope I don't go too fast because I think it is important that you take away some real statistics or information that you can use as you're out there selling our commercial, retail, and certainly our residential. What's the most important thing to a person when they're first coming in to buy a home? And remember, if you don't know, I also taught real estate at UCF for 7 years, 8 years. I was the director, and I want you to know, one of my young, new associates that taught real estate for me was Dick Fryer. Still a very, very close friend of mine, and actually helped him get on the Florida Real Estate Commission, and was very proud of that because he was exemplary in what he did while he was on there. Okay, the number one thing is what? Schools, right? Who's number one in schools in the state of Florida? Seminole. There you go, Seminole County. Guess what? I was chairman of the Education Committee in the Senate. It has always been that. It has always been that. There's 3 counties. So if you're ever going to sell outside of Central Florida, it's the 3 S's: Sarasota, St. John's, and Seminole. The 3 big counties that have the best education system in the state. And that doesn't include just our public schools. We have Seminole State College, and we, of course, have my alma mater, UCF, right on the border of Seminole County. So we're very proud of all of that. All right? What's the number 2 thing that anybody, when they're coming to move here, what do they want to do? Livability. Seminole County is the number 1 place, as picked by niche, to live in Florida. Number 1. It is the number 1 place to raise a family. This is not me saying it. This is from groups like Niche and other things that have talked about. The number 2 place in Florida for young professionals. And let me remind you, Seminole County is young for Florida. Our average age is 39.5. That's young for Florida. We have a very high income, $70,000 median income. So we're young, we're rich, and we're smart. 70% of Seminole County residents have some college education. So what do we all have? What is all of this that I'm talking about? Number 1 in schools, number 1 in number 2 in young professionals, number 1 to raise a family, number 1 to live. It's called quality of life, folks. It's what it's called, and that's what we sell. Our fire department has a Class 1 rating. You know how many fire departments have a Class 1 rating in Florida? 4. You know how many have a Class 1 rating in the United States? Less than 1%. You know what that means to you? Lower property insurance. Now, your property insurance company won't tell you that, You need to tell them that that you're living or that your business is in a #1 class, and then they have to respond to that. But they won't do it. You've got to do it for them. Remember that. We have, a lot of people have talked about, us looking at income tax, ad valorem tax, and raising our property taxes. That is true. We are looking at that. How many people have not had a raise in 16 years? No one. We haven't raised our taxes in 16, 17 years. Even if we go to the highest rate that we are talking about right now, we'll have the lowest ad valorem in Central Florida. Anybody that you're selling a new house to won't even notice because they'll be coming from someplace else that has a higher ad valorem tax. That doesn't mean we're not trying to keep it as low as possible. We are. But we are committed to public safety. We are committed to livability. We are committed to the health and safety and welfare of our citizens, and we will do that. Do you know what else? We have the lowest unemployment in the area, 3.2%. That's a full point less than the United States. And we have a bond rating AA+. Another reason that we have to make sure that we have the viability when we talk about our revenue and our budget. The people, I think, respond to that. When we had a sales tax initiative last year, our other counties, they lose sales tax initiatives all the time, right? Our sales tax initiative passed by 73%. Our citizens understand the value of not only transportation, but of the quality of life that is provided here in Seminole County. Our charter amendments, which were mostly related to protecting our conservation areas, and we have another program called Seminole Forever, which is unique in that we have embedded it into our budget, and we actually buy conservation land with that money, not asking our taxpayers to pay more taxes for it. But in our charter amendments, our citizens passed that by 83%. 83%. We have a very wise constituency that believes very strongly in the protection of the quality of life. Our libraries have been selected as #1. Our parks have been selected #1 just recently. And the fact we awarded them that in the last couple of days over there. And when we were faced with the fact that we were going to, our golf courses were going to turn into condominiums or housing developments, we bought them and made them into parks. That's what we do in Seminole County. That's what quality of life means in Seminole County. And I could go through a whole lot of other statistics. We are working very strongly on affordable housing. But when people talk about affordable housing, let's really talk about affordable housing. Seminole County at 120% of the average income is $90,000. That's market value. And when these people come in and they want to do and get tax breaks, 75% tax breaks on building market value, what does that do to the rest of the people? You pay more taxes. You pay more taxes when they're coming in and getting that value. We had 700 plus units try to get the Live Local 75% or 100% discount on their ad valorem taxes. You know how many were at 80%, which would have been really true affordable housing at about $50,000? You know how many? 7. So we're taking it upon ourselves to do things like giving away our surplus land to places like Habitat for Humanity and others so they can build them in proximity of schools and transit and work. Because that's where you need to put people that don't have ready transportation, that need to get their children to schools, that need to work. So we're doing that. We are creating a community trust for county surplus lands that we're already using. We are also, a lot of people, what really raises the value are the rentals a lot is vacation rentals. Why would anybody want to rent to a single family home when they can get as much in 1 week, for their home? So what we're doing is we're charging, like everybody is, you know, a $250, I don't know what everybody's charging, but we're charging $250 to register them before the legislature takes it away from us. They haven't yet. But we're charging $250 per, you know what we're doing with that money? We're not putting it in our general revenue to spend more money. We're putting it in to help people get into homes and rental units with deposits. We have a program. We're putting it directly in there for the people. Everything that we do is to make this community, this county, our 7 vibrant cities, and let me tell you something, we got some great cities. Everything from Altamont Springs and Sanford and all the way in between. I served in the Senate where I had all of those 5 cities in Winter Park and Maitland. I had a great district. But I will tell you what, these 7 cities, 2 of which, Oviedo and Winter Springs, basically revolve around UCF. The other 5 basically are right on the I-4 corridor. All of them are unique and prosperous and beautiful and exciting to live in. I was just talking I was just talking about, you know, we were talking about the UK. One of the biggest developments in Altamont Springs is Emerson International, which is a United Kingdom investment group. And that, if you've seen all of those apartments go up around Crane's Roost, unbelievable. And they own all of that property around Crane's Roost. So when you talk about Seminole County, remember, you've got 7 vibrant cities. You have, and it's about 250,000 cities. And then your county, another 250,000. Great education system, great place to live, great place to raise a family, great place. By the way, number 2 in the state for working at home. I know a lot of you do that. Number 2 place in the state to work at home. We got everything here. We've got everything here. And mostly what we've got is people that care about their community. So I'm going to leave a few minutes to allow people, in fact, I think I'm the only one that didn't go past my time. I'm going to leave a few minutes, and I think these chairs were for us to sit around. I don't know, Cliff, if you're still going to do that, but I will be happy while I'm up here to answer any question anybody has about Seminole County. Does anybody have anything? Come on, don't be afraid. I can't see you, so just stand up and yell. Yes, sir. And that is a great question because I was going to go into that, but I didn't have the time. If any of you know about, you know, what public transportation in Florida, it's terrible. Okay? We try, but we are spread out. And it really doesn't work well. Well, the Tri-County Transportation System, Links, I've been chairman of Links. Links really tries to do a good job. But in Seminole County, it really doesn't have the containability, if you will, and the type of person that needs it for all locations. So here's what we're doing. And they were going to have to increase, because of the cost, 15% a year. So to save money, we looked at other alternatives. Here's what we found. We're going to keep the major through fares, $436, $17.92, going to UCF. We're going to keep those. But then we're going to start a micro-transit system that's going to start in October. And if you don't know about it, you will, and it's exciting. We contracted with Freebie, all electric cars. It's going to be a at your location pickup. We're not competing with Uber. We are giving those people that would normally, with low income, seniors, and young adults, we are giving them a discount by virtue of what the federal government guidelines. And then everybody else will be paying a certain price. We'll have 5 distinct districts. So if you stay in that district, like in my case, I have an elderly mother. She still drives. It's scary when she gets on 436. And I'm not talking about young, I'm talking in 70, elderly at 75. I'm talking about 93. And she's great. And she can drive. But I don't want her to when she doesn't have to. It's called Scout. This microtransfer will pick her up at her house within a 30-minute situation and take her to where her gets her hair and nails done about 4 miles or 6 miles away, and bring her back. All for the horrible price of $2. Those of us that can afford it will be paying more, but that's okay. We don't want you to use it as a daily event, but if any of you are going out and having a few drinks, this is a great alternative. And remember, you're staying in your location. You don't have to. If you go up, like I live in Altamont Springs, furthest south in the county. My office is in Sanford at the county commission chambers. If I wanted to, it would cost me about $7 to get there. Maybe $9. We haven't finalized the total price. Again, we're not trying to compete with Uber, but we are, and Lyft, but we are trying to make something that we want to keep people that live here, work here, play here, and be safe here. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing that. Now, the contract we made has only increased 3% as opposed to 15%. It will cost less than links. Now, I'm talking about for the government. It will cost less than links. For those that take links now, it'll be the same price. For those that can't afford it, it will be more than links, less than Uber. But if you're going out of Orange County, it's not that we're not going to service you. We're trying to drop you off at the Sunrail stations. So we don't go into Orange County, but we will go, if you are going to Orange County, we will drop you off either at the Superstation for links or at the rail in Sunrail. And that way you can get to Orange County if you want to. But it's going to be exciting. It's called Scout. It starts in October, and folks, you're going to love it. Next question. Any question? Listen, Cliff, thank you very much for letting all of us be here today. We really love it.
The Florida Lottery is proud to support education by contributing billions of dollars to Florida schools and awarding countless Bright Future scholarships so Florida students can do more than just dream of a brighter future. They can create one. Learn more at FLAlottery.com.
I'm way down there. All right, so listen, guys, we're going to keep this fairly quick, but at the same time, I'm not going to ask you specifically questions. I'm going to throw out a question. Whoever wants to take it, feel free to tackle it. So the first question I have, I think, is about housing affordability in Central Florida over the next 5 years. So what do you see as the biggest opportunity and the biggest threat to that? Who wants to tackle that?
I'll start. Since I'm chairman of the board of Habitat, we build about 15 to 20 houses a year here in Seminole County with the help of our partners at Seminole County government, state, federal. We leverage all of that funding to bring in, as we saw the slide, about $450,000 is our median value. We bring those houses in at the high 300s, but the folks are only paying a mortgage of about $150-ish. So to make it affordable, we try to keep it in that $1,300 to $1,400 a month, all in, principal, interest, and taxes. So the challenges are cost of building. I mean, any private developer has the same issues. The only reason we can do what we can do because we are leveraging grants, funding, property that are given to us by governmental agencies. What would be helpful and challenges, again, we see not only what we do at Habitat, but with our private developers, is probably some level of density needs to be looked at. We also need to be looking at some land development code issues. Does every first home need to have a 2-car garage and be at least 1,200 square feet? The answer is no, but we are restricted because of some land development code issues. So we work on that all the time. Those are some of the challenges. We just push through that. But
And you know, as I said, we are giving away property, others are surplus. But you know, you've got to find places that are close to school, close to work, and close to transportation. And so that is the real concern that we all have. Now, the other thing is psychological. You know, I mean, you've all dealt with it. NIMBYs. You understand? People think, oh, affordable housing, that means we don't want that kind of element here. That element is school teachers, firefighters, police officers. You know, we're not talking about and people that work in the tourism industry. We need these people. We want folks to live in Seminole County. We are doing things like we call it the middle, where we are building complex developments and then putting in the middle. We are also putting affordable housing, attainable housing, workforce housing, all of which have different definitions, but all of which are things that we're using. So as you go through this, we're also doing something. One of the things that a number of our seniors are having trouble finding homes. So we're doing things like allowing people to have mother-in-law, if you want to call it that, cottages on their property. That's allowed in Seminole County. So we're trying to do everything we can with all different aspects and circumstances that we can find ways to build it. But again, in Seminole County, people are trying to say that $90,000 a year is affordable housing. That's not affordable housing. That is market value housing. We need to find real, true, attainable, and workforce housing for these folks.
I'm going to turn it over to Esteban Zadriaga, who's the Business Marketing Manager for Office of Economic Development and Tourism. And Esteban, I kind of skipped over you a little bit, but I just want to take 2 minutes here, kind of give us the state of affairs from your end and where you are in the industry. And obviously, tourism is a huge driver for this market. Is it healthy? Is it strong? Is it epic, so to speak?
Absolutely. I'll project. So, can everybody hear me in the back? Good. I'll spend some time just. I'll touch on tourism for a moment, but really, what I want to share with everyone here is what incredible diversity of business.
Just for the record, I'm at my smartest when my mic is on.
I didn't get louder anyway. So the diversity of business size and employment in Seminole County. When you look at let's say the pie chart of where our people are being employed, there is an even split between small businesses, entrepreneurship, that's 1 to 10 employees, and 800 larger businesses that employ 800 and up. What that allows us to do is have both stability and agility. And for you all in the realtor community, what that equals to is there's a diversity of product that you're able to find solutions for these business owners. On the tourism side, the county is very proud. We just passed our first tourism improvement district, the largest in the state. It was an incredible effort by our board, our commissioners, and our staff. And what that allows us to do is create a funding mechanism that will eventually become the indoor sports complex for the county. Why is that important? I think a lot of us understand that hotels obviously benefit from that, lodging does, food and beverage, but there are so many supplementary, complementary industries that are tied to tourism that will be benefiting. Tourism and other transportation and other services, those businesses will be in need as that becomes more relevant.
I tell you what, I could ask questions all day long, but I do want to open it up to the tables out there because you guys are the boots on the ground, right? So you've got a who's who, everything from property, from the government side to tourism and the UK and roads. Does anybody have any questions that you want to throw out to the crowd? If so, we've got these microphones up at the front, so please just feel free, stand up, come over, and then we'll bring you into the conversation. I do want to throw one other concept out, and that is something, I have a lot of clients in construction, I have a lot of clients in different aspects of real estate and building. Zoning, permitting, impact fees. So gentlemen, I think by and large, the two of you probably tackled that. But, how can we make those processes more streamlined, more efficient, to create better opportunities for builders and consequently for realtors?
Well, let me just tell you, we've set up a trust. We are affordable, true affordable housing. We are eliminating impact fees for the developer. Doesn't mean, folks, that we're not paying the impact fees. This trust is paying the impact fees for the developer if they guarantee that they will keep it affordable for 30 years. See, that's the problem. You can sit there and do anything you want to and give people affordable housing, and then 10 years later they want to convert it. We've got to keep it a viability for generations, not just for the profit of the individual that comes in first.
Sean, I'm going to throw it to you as an opportunity to pitch, if you'd like. I think I brought this up briefly. There are foundations, for Seminole County to be able to help. How can this room come in, make Seminole County schools even stronger?
So through the Foundation for Seminole County Public Schools, we are always happy to accept funds. But really more than anything, I think sometimes partnership matters more. And so when I think about all of our programs, as I mentioned earlier, the 53 programs, we have entrepreneurship, marketing, sales. As I mentioned earlier, we have many of our JROTC programs do unmanned flight certification through Embry-Riddle. So we have highly skilled students that need to see a path forward. And that's where the business community and the realtors come in, is helping us to help our students see those pathways forward.
I think there's a question here. You want to, if we have a mic, or just yell. We love yelling.
This is a comment and a question from Ms. Asa. I'm making this general because roadway is all of us, not just Seminole County. But there's been a lot of just really ugly discussions about what's being done to extend the Osceola Parkway through, is it Oak Forest?
Split Oaks.
Well, every time I hear that, I'm reminded of what Senator Constantine did to get the Wekiva Parkway done. And that is, it's a raised roadway that does not interfere with wildlife, doesn't interfere with the ecology, and everything that goes on there. And I drive across that regularly. And I'm wondering if the Expressway Authority is giving any consideration to doing that to settle some of these people's concerns about what that's going to do to that forest area.
100%. And this is another thing I'd love, thank you so much for bringing that as a part of the discussion. I can tell you exactly what we're doing for that 14-mile expressway. In fact, here's another resource I'd love for all of you to go home with as well. Open your phones and type in sr534.com. sr534.com, because I can guarantee you, like, oh, she said this and I can't remember. It is all on this website. We have dedicated an entire website to this project that just doesn't explain what is this 14-mile expressway, but there is actually a section dedicated to environmental stewardship. What are we doing when it comes to that 1.3-mile section that does go through the southwestern end of Split Oak? But to answer the question directly, where's the gentleman? And I didn't get his name.
Dick Fryer.
Dick. We will be looking at an elevated bridge section through Split Oak, and we are in close coordination with the FWC on what does that look like, also to ensure that the wildlife corridor is maintained and the access is enhanced. And so there will be some level of bridging that goes through there. They are talking about that right now as we speak, because we do realize that is an important consideration. I will also mention that when you go through that section of the website of environmental stewardship, you'll notice also a map. There is 1,550 acres of donated land that will extend the conservation in that area, which will be toward the eastern end of Split Oak and also toward the southern end, which is in Osceola County. Central Florida Expressway Authority will also be putting $24 million to help with restoration and mitigation of that 1,550 of donated land that will sit in Orange County in Osceola. And Dick, I'm glad you brought up that question, because a lot of the efforts that we did with Wekiva We could not be where we are today had we not had that level of discussion and dialogue regarding our environmental stewardship there. And we will be applying a lot of those practices to that project.
Raquel, I just wanted to say, I was on the board at the time. I was one of the officers of the Expressway Authority, and I was the one that brought up the agreement. And yes, they are taking some property of Split Oaks. I wish they didn't have to. At this point, it's in the opinion of the engineers, it's the only logical place to go. But regardless of that, what Raquel said, they're donating, or people are donating 1,500 acres on the other side of it for conservation and elevating, again, for wildlife corridors like we did at Wekiva. And that was something I brought forward, as well as the ongoing $24 million to continue to repair and improve the conservation areas in that area. So I respect those people that are against the Split Oaks, taking of the Split Oaks, but I want them to understand in relative percent, you're talking about 67 acres taken away, 1,500 acres given, and those the acres that are going to be used will be elevated for the wildlife.
Anybody else in the crowd? Anybody want to? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Jenny Sodi. I have a question about the tiny homes. I know there are a lot coming up. So is that affordable? Can we consider them as affordable, or is it just for we can build them and sell them? Okay.
One of our great citizens here, involved in everything in Seminole County, in the chamber, and other things. And I just want you to know, for those of you that are in real estate, and you know this, but I'm going to say it, you don't live off of your community, you live for your community. And please take examples like Shadi and get involved in the Seminole County community. Tiny homes, the biggest problem in tiny homes is just finding a location for them. And we've been looking at different sites, we've been working on that ongoing, and there are locations that we can do it. And remember something also, half of the population are in the cities. Cities are where the infrastructure is. So the density should be moved into the cities. And most of our cities understand that, they're doing that. So when you're looking at tiny homes, you have to look more like in areas that are not as intense, but at the same time have accessibility to transportation, to schools, and to jobs. So, we try to avoid putting any type of thing like that in the rural boundary, because that is what it says, rural, and there's not a lot of transportation, jobs, or school opportunities. So we're looking along the corridor and other locations to do that, and we have found some locations, but it's an ongoing problem. It's an ongoing situation where we're trying to improve.
All right, we're going to take the last few minutes here, and I'm just going to kind of go down the line. I'd like each of you to take a minute to answer this question. But I'm going to do it differently for Lee and for David. So the question is this: if we want to future-proof our region's housing strategy, what should we be doing today that we're not? Now, for Lee and David, I would appreciate it if you could address things that we really have no control over, and that would be insurance and interest rates. So, Raquel, go ahead. What do we need to be doing now to future-proof the region's housing strategy?
Say engage, and this is definitely a forum that enables that, right? When you know what is coming and you know what is being planned, you yourself have a better ability to plan as well. So engage, and if you haven't, we're happy to provide those opportunities, especially in some of our project areas where we're studying.
Steve?
So I would say I need to speak more globally than just on behalf of the UK in that. And I think that goes back to the first statistic that I gave, and that is that 1 in 5 people in our community are now foreign-born. So I think that we need to continue to be a very inclusive community. I think that we need to make sure that we've got very diversified industries, which we're doing. We need to continue looking towards that. And I think that the face of our community is changing as a result of becoming richer, culturally richer, and make sure that everybody's welcome in them.
Wait, do you want me to? Okay. First of all, we have done something with property insurance, regardless of the legislature, and that is, as I told you, the Class 1 rating of our fire department. That does give you less property insurance. But I just want to talk about just property taxes for a minute. None of us like property taxes. None of us, want property taxes. But remember one thing: when the legislature's talking about saving property tax or eliminating property tax or whatever they do, property tax is property valuation insurance. Property tax is property valuation value insurance, and that means if you don't have property tax, 57% of the county's budget goes to the sheriff's department. That's property taxes. Almost all of the money that goes to the school board is property tax. Now, two most important areas: public safety, education. You don't have property tax or an equivalent, and don't tell me that you're going to raise it to 25-cent sales tax and that's going to be the equivalent. That's not going to happen. Property tax guarantees that your property value stays high. Remember that when people are talking about eliminating property tax or reducing property tax, because you're also talking about reducing property value. And what's the number one commodity all of us have? Primarily, your house. Keep that in mind.
David. So obviously, quality of life, we've talked about that all morning. We sell this every day out in the community. As Commissioner Constantine says, I do this property tax thing. That's what I get paid to do. I hear complaints. But I will tell you, for the most part, Commissioner Constantine touched on this, a very informed constituency. They understand that they're getting a relatively good value for their dollar. I think long-term, bigger picture that would help everyone in the real estate community is we probably need to do something for our elderly, and we probably need to do something for our first-time home buyer. And for those home buyers that are coming in from other parts of the country that do not have any kind of protection from homestead exemption or saver home. You hear this every day when you have the new person moving in from New York or whatever, and they get hit the next year with a huge increase in property taxes, which creates enormous inequities with the neighborhood. I think there are ways of tailoring that and softening that blow, and those are the intellectually honest conversations that the legislature should be having right now. And those are things that we as a Property Appraisers Association, Commissioner Constantine, we try to steer them into, again, intellectually honest conversations. We will see where that all ends up, but I think there's some tweaking that needs to happen, and I think that would help the whole real estate community, because as you know, you've got constituents sitting on the sideline, people who do not want to sell because they're afraid that they're going to get impacted by a huge impact if they move someplace else. So that would increase inventory, and that would help with price points too. So.
All right, Sean, I'm going to throw it to you, and I think schools and housing to me are the same concept in this equation. So what is future-proofing both of those?
So the vast majority of families in Seminole County choose Seminole County public schools as their school choice. When we talk about school choice, the number one choice that Seminole County families make is Seminole County public schools. All of that happens when we talk about all of the excellence and the A and the programs and all of those things. All of those come at a cost. And so when voters in 2024 approved the sales tax, that meant everything to us, because that means that we can continue to strive for excellence and push ourselves. And so that level of support matters immensely. The other thing I would say for realtors and for families is to check our assumptions about public education or about particular schools. There is not one school in this school district that I would not send my own child to. He's 21, so I won't send him because he would be really disappointed. But, that I wouldn't send my own child to. And so get to know our community so that when you have buyers who are either commercial buyers or home buyers, that you can speak eloquently about the schools that are in their community so that you can bring them in and make them part of the family.
I will say, I just want to add one quick point here, and I was dazzled by what you're teaching in the Seminole County school system, because you're going to where needs are, because drones aren't going away, firefighters aren't going away. So being specific in the education that you're providing, I think kudos. So, all right, Esteban, I think you get to wrap up the morning here.
I have two simple asks. The first one is join the conversation by joining or engaging your chambers of commerce. It's so important to be at the table when these conversations are happening. Most of the space needs that our small businesses have show up there first. It's also a place where you get to engage with our enterprise larger businesses. So when we talk about engaging our ecosystem and knowing what the space needs are before they hit the public market, that's where it happens. Second piece is connect with our Office of Economic Development and Tourism. We are a resource hub for all of you here. We can connect you with people that have space needs for small businesses, especially that are growing, expanding, and need office space and flex space. And so please, again, engage, come see us. We're right down the street in Heathrow here at Lake Mary. We'd love to have a conversation for you.
All right. Thank you all very much, and thank you for coming.
We wanted to move back home to be closer to his family. We decided to go with pods because things were stressful enough.
We weren't sure how long we were going to need storage for, so we needed something that was flexible, and then they can deliver the container to wherever we move to.
We haven't found the perfect house yet, but we're still looking.